Last year, I went to Switzerland for the holidays, and while the plane was flying above the country, the view down was a sight for sore eyes. The snow-covered mountains stand tall and beautiful in contrast to the lush green hills, and I was lucky enough to see a small lake by the hills and the snow-covered mountains. I can't ever forget that view. I was so stunned by the snow-covered mountain regions of the Alps from the airplane window while sipping on the hot, delicious coffee the cabin crew served me. After this, I wanted to experience such views often and be an adventurer myself. I thought I would see the world's tallest mountain peak like this. Yeah, I am talking about Everest. Anyway, I took my laptop and surfed through the internet to find an ideal flight whose route would fulfill my desire. I was so excited, but all my excitement went down the drain when I saw that planes don't fly over the Himalayan ranges or Mount Everest, for that matter. Do you know why? No? Hey guys, and welcome to another divulging episode of Discover X. In today's episode, I'm going to tell you guys why planes don't fly over the Himalayas. But before we dive in to discover the reason for this, I have a dare for you. Hold up, the dare is easy peasy. All you have to do is smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on post notifications for more interesting content. So, have you completed your dare? If yes, then I am not going to keep you waiting. So let's start discovering why. Okay, let me make this easier for you to understand. I'm going to tell you an imaginary situation of me and you flying in a commercial flight that decided to fly over the Himalayas to fulfill our desires. Just imagine, okay? The first part of the flight is going really smoothly. The plane reaches its normal altitude of about 35,000 feet. At this altitude, it's traveling at a speed of about 550 miles per hour. And soon, the pilots and then we see a range of snow-covered tall mountains ahead. And among all of these, one of them stands out. Yes, you have guessed it right. It is the highest mountain peak in the whole world above sea level, Mount Everest. It has a monstrous height of 29,000 feet, and more since it keeps growing almost 1/10 of an inch every year. That's massive and impressive. That's still not more impressive than the pilot who is not even a tad bit worried about flying over the peak. Why should he be anyways, when the plane still has around 6,000 feet to spare? We're happy and the pilot is proud. Still, this happiness and pride are short-lived, because once the plane is flying over Mount Everest, that's when everything comes down the hill. In this case, it might as well be us in the plane. While we are admiring the beauty of the view around us, suddenly, we hear a loud banging voice. Everyone is terrified, and the cockpit crew immediately understands that these were the signs of decompression. It may be because one of the many windows are not being sealed properly, a crack in the window, or a problem with the pressurized systems. Whatever the reason may be, everyone, including the crew, and we have to react immediately. We may not have listened to the pre-flight safety demonstration on this flight, but at some point, we have listened to every single word carefully, so we know what to do. Yes, we immediately put the oxygen masks over our noses and mouths and concentrate on our breathing, trying to be calm. At this point, the atmosphere is really chilly, literally and figuratively. But there is a huge problem here. There isn't much oxygen in the mask, because usually they only last for about 15 to 20 minutes. We can imagine the situation here. At an altitude of about 35,000 feet with a little oxygen, not so good. That's when the pilots come to our rescue and drop down to 10,000 feet. Phew, now we can breathe and even remove the masks. Wait a minute, aren't we flying over the Himalayas? How on earth can we drop so low? Uh-oh. The AC or the fan is probably on, so why are you sweating? I'll do one thing. I'll stop imagining this before something happens to you and me. But hey, you now know why exactly planes shouldn't fly over the Himalayas. That's not the only reason. Inability to lower the plane in case of decompression is one reason that is preventing the planes from flying over the Himalayas. If something goes wrong in the plane while cruising above, the captain can glide the plane while trying to fix the issues. That's the whole point of the impressive cruising altitude. Lets the pilot have room for errors. But it won't be fixed if you only have about 6,000 feet to spare. An emergency landing is just out of the question. An emergency landing requires flat land. You and I know that there is no flat land on the Himalayas. Moreover, it's not easy to find an airport amidst all the mountains. Well, there's one airport nearest to the Himalayas, and that is Kathmandu, the Tribhuvan International Airport at Kathmandu, Nepal, which is dangerous for itself with not less than 15 fatal accidents since 1992. And it is without an instrument landing system. Trust me, that is not an airport you like to visit on a cloudy day. And let's not forget the nasty turbulence. As much as I loved the whole view while I was flying over the Alps last year, the turbulence was nasty. But luckily, I didn't throw up. But the same cannot be said about others. The turbulence here is because of the wind moving over mountain ranges at a very high speed, which creates mountain waves. And these waves can make any ride rough. If the Alps area can have a nasty turbulence, imagine the turbulence near the Himalayas. It is extremely bad, so bad that it's almost impossible to fly over there. Another reason why the planes don't fly over the mighty Himalayas is that the radar services here are almost non-existent. It's because the area where the Himalayan mountain ranges are less populated, and even if there are radar services, the chances are that they don't cover to such an extent. So, there is no mode for the pilots to communicate with the ground in the absence of radar services in case of some unfortunate events. The next reason is mainly related to the security of the countries the Himalayan spans. You know that these mighty mountain ranges span 6 countries that are India, Nepal, Bhutan, Tibet, China, and Pakistan. According to several reports, the air forces of a few of these countries conduct their training sessions in this region. Hence, they restrict commercial airlines from flying above them. According to a Quora user, that's the case who said that the Indian Air Force and People's Liberation Army Force conduct training sessions here. And let's not also forget the border rivalries and wars in this area. It is absolutely unsafe in all senses. These were the scientific reasons for this question of why planes don't fly over the Himalayas. But that's not all to it, guys, because surprisingly, I should say not surprisingly, there are other reasons for this as well, specifically saying superstitious reasons. Of course, it is only fair if there is a superstitious reason for this, because every mysterious thing in the world has a superstitious reason. The Bermuda Triangle is a live example of that. Anyways, the Himalayas is responsible for separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan Plateau of China and South Asia. The Tibetan Plateau, as you may know, is known as the roof of the world, since it is the highest plateau in the world. Anyways, a mountain called Mount Kailash, which is the holiest of holy mountains, is located in this region. And it's such a high altitude and a sacred place for at least 4 religions. This holy mountain is surrounded by a handful of mysteries, secrets, and folklores, most of which are related to God or have been around for ages. And some of these are explainable. According to many people, there is a presence of a ghost or an invisible force around the Tibetan Himalayan regions that doesn't allow the airplanes to move forward from a certain point at the height of an altitude. Many of these folktales also contribute to the Hindi god Lord Shiva, who always stayed in Mount Kailash watching over his world, besides his wife and followers. Even if you wanted to travel over the Himalayas, there aren't many flight services between the 2 major countries besides the Himalayas, China and India. The Western China has a very less population and doesn't need air travel. Moreover, the major flight services in this area don't even fly over this region. Okay, say that you're able to travel over this area because there are 2 airports in that region. Still, as I said earlier, they have extremely dangerous runways that are hardly good for a small plane. It's also located in the outskirts of the taller mountains that only a good and experienced pilot could fly over these mountains. Still, he will have to be prepared for the inevitable risk associated with it as well. And alas, our desire is only going to be a desire. But hey, if you want to experience seeing the snow-covered mountains like me, then why don't you book a flight that en routes above the Alps? And with that, we've come to the end of today's video. Don't forget to share the most spectacular views you had while traveling in the air in the comments section below. And I'll meet you all again to discover another amazing topic. Until next time, bye-bye.